Thanks for joining us today. My name is Aaron Gross, and I am an educator and senior naturalist at Briarbush Nature Center, managing the outside trails and the facilities that you are visiting today. We have lots of programs. This is our final one in the fall right now, talking about turkey. So this is going to be a recorded presentation, and it's something that I have shared with you guys today, and I hope you enjoy it. There are snacks in the back there. Feel free to help yourself anytime. And afterwards, if you want to engage in more conversation, and just let me know, and some other people, Estella at the front desk can also engage you as well. Okay. So let's start with the turkey talk. As I was presenting this, as I was forming this and creating this turkey talk, I thought a lot about the turkeys, and we will be talking about Thanksgiving. However, it's not the majority of my talk today. But as you can see, this is the famous Norman Rockwell Thanksgiving Day turkey. Everyone's sitting around the corner and around the table enjoying it. And the country gentleman, there's a funny picture of this boy running away from a turkey that he's trying to harvest. And we're going to talk more about that and the hunting of turkeys and just all aspects. We're going to talk about the wild turkey. Okay, there is a difference. There are 5 subspecies of wild turkey in North America here. We have the Rio Grande, we have the Merriam's, the Gould's, the Osceola near Florida, and the Eastern wild turkey. And that's the one that I have done more of my research, more of my data collecting was from websites that were from the Eastern wild turkey. And partly, some of this presentation is been done a couple of years ago by Melissa, another educator of ours. And I've mentioned Katie Fisk, another educator, for helping with some of the bird facts. She has a cameo in here as well. All right. So here are what the 5 subspecies of turkeys look like, all right, in North America. All right. There's a little difference between the coloration of some of them, but not much. I mean, if you were just to look out in the wild, you'll say, oh, well, that's a turkey. And you would assume that's the Eastern variety, but they're not. They come from, and their territories are dispersed around North America. And here's a map that depicts that. The blue, of course, is the Eastern wild turkey, and that is the wide range of the wild turkey. A little red section right there in the middle of our country is the Rio Grande wild turkey. The green is a hybrid. I'm not sure with that which breeds are interbreeding. The hybrid probably between the 2 zones of the Rio Grande and the Eastern. But up north near Montana and Wyoming, you see the purple, which is the ocellated turkey. The yellow is the Gould's, and down in Florida is the Osceola. All right. Osceola turkey. So what is the size and the shape of our Eastern turkeys? The wild turkeys are very large. They're plump birds with long legs, wide rounded tails, and a small head on a long slim neck. They're kind of the size of a goose, all right? We've typed in here that the geese size or larger. We do have a stuffed goose in the snake room. If you wanted to take a look at that size, we could do so after the program back there. Weighing about 5.5 pounds to 24 pounds is an average from small babies to large adults. And their length is 3.5 feet, wingspan up to 4 feet, 4.7 feet. The color pattern. All right, so overall, a dark in color, feathers with a bronze green iridescent feathers in the plumage. Their wings are dark or boldly barred with white bars and dark bars. The rump or tail feathers are broadly tipped with rusty or white color. Their head and neck varies from red to blue to gray. So here's the color patterns we can see here. And there are different parts. There's a broadly tipped wing there that's in their tail wing. There's their iridescent color that's going to be right here near their belly or chest and their back feathers. Red, blue, and gray in the face. You can see that kind of coloration. And their barred wings are black and white. I happen to have a feather here that I can pass around that you guys can see the barred structure on that. Yeah. What's that? You found them? Yeah, they are wild turkeys here. Although we haven't seen any in Briarbush in a long, long time, not to say that they haven't been here before, but if you want to see one today or go for a walk, or I call it a hunt, is to seek and find. If you want to go on a turkey seek and find, go to the Pennypack Trust. You'll definitely find them around their visitor center there, and we've heard them. But it is hunting season. It is fall. And so they are going to be kind of scarce. They might be vocal, but they're going to be protected. We'll talk more about that behavior in the program. Here's the distribution of the wild turkeys today. And as I was going into more depth of 5 subspecies, so some of those areas to the west in California do have a different kind of species than the eastern variety as well. Now their habitat. Turkeys in northeastern North America use mature oak hickory forests and a humid forest with red oak, beech trees, cherry trees, and white ash, interspersed with edges and fields. Briarbush, years ago, 100 years ago, had a young forest and was mostly had some meadows in it as well, like this painting behind me here. So turkeys were probably, and pheasant were more in abundance here than they are now. But we have the perfect habitat for that. We have a lot of understory brush. We have red oaks, beech, cherry trees, white ash here at Briarbush Nature Center. You may also see them along roads or in a woodsy backyard. Now their behavior. Wild turkeys get around mostly by walking, though they can also run and fly. When threatened, females tend to fly while males tend to run. And here is a video that I like to share with you about them flying in. Well, look how they glide in. Right there, wow. There's another one. There's some more over here, coming right in. I know, wild turkeys more could fly. When I compare the bred turkeys, farmed raised turkeys, they don't fly as much. They're too plump. These are the wild varieties just landing in here. Yeah. And some of their other behavior, you'll see them pecking and feeding at the, there you go. I think the photographer there had spread some corn earlier because he talks about corn. And they are kind of used to people letting him walk that close to them. There he is flying again. Yeah. Yep. And there they are pecking the corn.
So these are all females? I mean.
Now, do you see that hair on the chest?
Huh?
That is tom turkey. That's the male. The females don't have that beard.
When do they open their fan or whatever?
During this courtship, and I'm going to talk about it. You'll see another example of that.
I assume that's what they look like all the
time. Exactly. Well, this is a great video to show you what they would be like moving around in a flock. Okay, in their flock. I'm going to fast forward through this to see if there's any more flight pattern. No, just sit there. Okay. So at sundown, turkeys do fly and they roost in lower limbs of trees and move upward from limb to limb on higher roost spots. They usually roost in flocks, but sometimes are individually in the tree. And each sex has an independent pecking order with a stable female hierarchy and constantly changing male hierarchy in their flocks. In early spring, males gather in the clearings to perform this courtship dance that you asked before. And they puff up their body feathers and flare out their tails, right, into a vertical fan and strut slowly while giving characteristic of a gobble, 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 gobble call, attracting females and warning competitive males. So let's see this video here. There's the display. Now, I think later I'll talk a little bit about turkey calls, but that gobble gobble sound I'll go into.
Oh.
Sounds like that. I did not make that. This was about, but I will show you how you can make turkey calls. Or you could also do your own voice. Gobble, 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 right? Gobble, 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 gobble. All right. Let's see. Here's the courtship. The caruncles are these ornamental elements used by males to attract the females. And these are on their neck. All right. And they're bright red for visibility. Having large caruncles or colorful bright ones indicate levels of testosterone, and they're well-fed birds. A big poofy bird is definitely going to be meatier, but also looking better for genes in courtship. Yes, very attractive. As in the bird world, some of you are birders, and they know that the males are usually more colorful and flauntful than the females. They also have this beard, right? So this beard is also, were you calling this a feather? But yeah, that beard is also displayed as well. All right. Turkey hunters usually will display the fan of the tail because they're proud of it, kind of like how they mount deer heads. If you mounted a turkey, they would have the beard. Sometimes people have the feet or the ankle or something to proudly display this. It's some kind of. The female wild turkeys prefer to mate with the longer snooded males, and the snood is the extra skin on top of the beak there that's hanging down. So that's the name of that. Not the caruncles below, but the snood is up top. Here's another male display there. Okay, the beard, caruncle. You can see because it's bright red, the snood dangling down. This is Hercules to the female turkey species. And it wouldn't, no, because it hangs down on the side. It can flop back and forth on either side so that any air would be coming through, same as the nostrils there. But for display purposes, that's the way they're born. While breeding, males breed with multiple mates and form all male flocks outside of the breeding season, leaving the chick rearing to the females. Typical. Our culture mimics that of nature, as I think, sometimes in other instances as well. Wild turkeys nest on the ground in dead leaves and at the bases of trees and under brush piles or thick shrubbery, or occasionally in open hayfields. And they use only the dead leaves or other plant material already present at the nest site. And their nest is about 1 inch deep there, 8 to 11 inches wide, 9 to 13 inches long. And you see those beautiful eggs there and a little pullet there, the little baby. Now, pullets are what you call the young chicks, right? Pullets travel in a family group with their mother, often combined with the other family groups to form a large flock of young turkeys accompanied with 2 or more adult females. I think there's also going to be a video here of them crossing the road. Now, from a distance, if you just caught a quick glimpse of this, I would probably think myself that I'm looking at ducklings, or I would look at geese, because just a really quick visual of it, like, oh,
Yeah.
there's geese or there's ducks, right? Because they have that yellowness around their beak and the front face, but darker colors and stripes on their back, right? And that happens in other species of birds. And we were joking about our society mimicking some of the bird cultures, but the ugly duckling story is a very common story where a swan gets mixed in with the ducks. I mean, they look kind of the same, even though I don't think that's a true story, the ugly duckling, but it's, could be
That's funny.
represented.
She is looking at something, and all the babies ran in the grass.
Yep. It's kind of a warning signal.
Yeah.
They know danger's coming or a person's there, so hide, hide, hide.
Person with the camera.
Yeah.
There is a slide where I mentioned the predators of these birds. So, as you can see, they're looking up in the sky. If there was a hawk or if there was a falcon or something up there, they all will scatter and run for cover. Just on the road there. Very curious animals, but very smart, we're told as well. All right. So the food, what do these birds eat? Well, nuts and berries, insects and snails on the wild. Wild turkeys are hunted by coyotes, bobcats, raccoons, mountain lions, golden eagles, great horned owls, and people. I would also put the domestic cats and dogs in there too, since we live neighborhood wise to parks and natural lands like Pennypack Trust. That occasional turkey would go in there. I'm sure one of those animals will attack. The nesting predators, the ones that want eggs, are again raccoons, possums, skunks, foxes, woodchucks, snakes. Ooh, it would be a tasty meal if that snake eating that egg there. Birds and rodents would rob the nest or feed on the nest. So to continue to talk about food, here's the digestive tract of a turkey and most birds. The gizzard is a very powerful muscle and an organ of digestion found in birds that consume seeds and nuts. And the hickory nuts that normally require 124 to 336 pounds of pressure to break. When we think of the nutcrackers coming up this season, to crack a hickory nut, that is a lot instead of a walnut. The beaks will shatter underneath that. But the turkey gizzard is great at crushing this. All right, and then under that pressure. There was a study, here's where Katie Fisk gave us some numbers. There was a study done that 12 steel needles were ground to pieces by a turkey's gizzard in just 36 hours. No damage to the turkey. So that gizzard can, just by those muscles and skin tissue, applying pressure and squeezing it into crushing bending needles, first of all, and not being pierced by it, but also those nuts like hickory nuts. Yeah.
Do you need something like sand or rocks in their gizzard to provide
Now I'm told by Kay that's usually found in the crop. So before the gizzard station, it's in the crop. That does have some stones and rubbing together like that will agitate and break meal or seeds, right? Smaller seeds and stuff. And chickens have crops, of course, in other words. But then when it gets to the gizzard, this is the muscle itself, the stomach muscle that really can apply the pressure and grinding of it. Yeah. And then from there, it passes on through there's the pancreas, but the intestinal body. So very fascinating to know that. Okay, so if you it's gonna make it. If you're having dinner at Thanksgiving dinner at my house, don't tell my mother-in-law. But her pecan pie could use a turkey gizzard, and you're gonna digest Thanksgiving Day meal. Don't say I said that. Because it is, yeah, those hard fools. Think about this stomach issue. Think about the gizzard and your stomach issues on Thanksgiving Day about the bird's digestion and what you have to digest through that. We like the softer, like sweet potato casseroles and stuff.
So it gives us another.
Our teeth, yeah.
It gives us another word for the stomach.
It's a little different, I'm told, but it's very similar. Because you can see it's like two stomachs, yeah, and cows have like four stomachs, essentially. But yeah, it's called the gizzard and the birds. Mhm. All right. Wild versus domesticated turkeys. This is interesting. What is the difference? As you can see, the coloration of the wild turkeys being that brown and the stripes, and the domesticated being just white. So there's some diversity. Domestic turkeys have far less genetic variation than wild turkeys and less than other domesticated agricultural species. However, there are different breeds of domesticated turkeys. And I have a chart, found a chart, but on the internet, and I'll share that with you later on in the slide. And I have a list of all 12 of them, which are very kind of fascinating. The flight. Wild turkeys can fly more than a mile at a time at speeds of 55 miles per hour. But the domesticated turkey has been bred bigger, larger, heavier, and sacrifices that ability to fly. All right. And there's two charts you can see. We have the hens and the toms, all right, the males and the females, and the factory farmed males are 38 pounds, and the wild variety is only 17 pounds. That's a 20-pound difference. That's a 20-pound difference. We also have these hens here, where factory farmed hens are 18 pounds, and the wild variety is only 11 pounds, a 7-pound difference. Okay. The factory farmed turkeys have only weeks to live, 18 weeks, 14 weeks, whereas the wild variety can go 2 to 3 years. 2 to 3 years. They're dependent upon their camouflage, and I think that's the next couple slides I'm going to talk about, trying to find these wild turkeys. Any questions?
Is there a significant intelligence difference between the two?
I don't know if there's a study that has done that, but I would suggest there is, whereas any farmed raised kind of animal is going to be manipulated, or I would say common conditioned to be fed at a certain time of day, to be fed a certain type of food, that if they're imprinted by us humans, that if they go into the wild, they would have to forage on their own and not knowing their instincts. Some animals, and I think reptiles, can go back to their wild side, not being heavily affected by imprinting, where other species of animals can't do that.
Do you remember a few years ago when there was that farm that used to breed this for hunters? And the hunter, yeah, just outside. Do you remember that?
So Jeanette suggests that there's a farm close by that
Close by where I live. Yeah.
Close by
Pennypack.
close by Pennypack that farm raised to
Farm
release.
raised, but this guy raised them only for hunting
Hunting. Mhm.
reasons. And when he decided to close it, he took all of them and released them against the wishes of Pennypack. Tried to find them,
Oh, yeah.
but he released all of them
That's
at Pennypack.
yeah.
I live on the other side of Pennypack, and these creatures, whenever they saw you running, because they're like people for food, and whenever they come up to you and you don't give them anything, they peck at you.
Oh, yes.
So
They're on the pecking order.
I
Jeanette.
had called Pennypack and I
Yeah.
said, what are we doing here? And he said, yeah, can you imagine this is what happened right now? have to deal with it. When the males saw the reflection of themselves in the car wheel.
Oh, I bet.
They peck at the car wheel, or
Hubcap, right?
some people lost the
Air in their tire.
air in the
Ah!
tire because of it.
Well, what you are saying is true to some of my slides, some of the facts that I have in my slides. Some farm raised bred turkey species are social and very domesticated and socially amongst themselves and amongst humans too, and affectionate towards that. Whereas the wild variety are more skittish from that. So those turkeys that were released into the penny pack that you're saying, I don't know how long ago, do you? 6 years ago or more, okay. Maybe, yeah, I don't know if it genetically it can pass through that of knowing,
Well,
but
one
we'll
of the
see.
women who was being followed, she ran, slipped, fell.
Oh, no.
You know, so
Yeah.
things happen.
She was
And then-
chased.
And then I had a little meeting with people and said, you know what? You stand there like this and you go.
It's kind of like a tom turkey too, like your feathers, you make yourself look
So
pretty.
that's why whenever, I think there's a turkey close to my car. Can you come and scare it?
There's also here, wild turkeys can run as fast as 25 miles per hour. The domesticated turkey has been bred through hundreds of generations and have shorter legs and much slower. So domesticated turkeys are noisier than wild turkeys, possibly because the loud vocalization could attract predators. Let's hear some turkey calls. And that's a hen
Yeah.
call.
Show me what you can
I
do.
think they. Now I'm going to try to mimic both of those. All right, I'm going to try to mimic both of those. And I am going to bring this video back up so you can see me, Shane and Alan. There is a turkey call, which is a box here made out of wood. Nothing too special. There's a rubber band holding this out. And the inside is hollow. The inside is hollow. And when you scratch that together and shake it, it sounds like a gobble, gobble, gobble. Now, what you can do also is there's a piece of chalk and you chalk the sides so it does scratch and make that. And you can go slower or you can go louder. There's a whole bunch of different communication tricks if you're a hunter or even if you just want to go out and talk to them, because that can attract them in and you can have fun with that as well. But now the peahen, the hen was making a pecking sound, and this is a film canister. And on that film canister is just a rubber balloon of latex. And if you blow on it, it makes kind of a whistle, but it's this peahen sound. And then if you cup your hand, you can make it deeper or louder. There is another way of doing that on slate and on a stick. So sometimes they have slate. I made this one. I copied this pattern and glued it to a turtle shell. So it's more nature involved. And with the sticks, you make a scratching sound. Now, I do warn people that this sounds like nails on a chalkboard. So if that bothers you, cover your ears. And the palm, though, the hollowness of this turtle shell also will make it kind of louder and travel farther. One other really cool one that I've made, I got this from Native Americans, is making a turkey call out of the turkey wing bone. So if you save your bones from Thanksgiving there are 3 bones in a turkey's small wing. And there's a big thick one, a medium-sized one, and a really thin one. And if you glue these together, and you can use, I use pine pitch for that. You can also make, and what you have to do is you have to suck in instead of blowing out. So it goes like this. We're doing research about some of the Revolutionary War and the Indian Wars, the French and Indian War. Scouts and their commanders would actually communicate with the warriors using turkey calls. So they would actually wear this around their necklace as instead of, well, the Europeans had, you know, Washington Redcoats had drums and fife calls, whereas the Native Americans had more nature calls that would blend in, like turkeys. And it would call warriors in together or to do what? And commanding them in the forest. So I'm gonna, if you guys want to see some of that, I can pass that around. So you guys can take a closer look. Jan, can you make some of that? And you can decorate those. People have decorated the bones and done some scrimshaw or painted them and hang them so that they can be very ornamental. But they are made of bone. They will break. I bet back then, you know, 100, 200 years ago, if they broke, there's always another one. And I'm trying to save up my Thanksgiving wings and make more because I like to make them for my nephews.
I think you should make them with Jan.
Jan, you want to? Jan's going to make some with me. All right, I'll save some from our turkey. If you get turkey from your cafeteria or at your place at Gloria Day, we'll make these together. Yep, there's 3 bones here.
I wonder what kind of wood would make a different sound.
Yes, different wood would make probably different sound. Oak would be heavier, pine definitely. I think that's cedar though. It's very light. Just so you can hear that. And then the hen. Very different sound. All right. Wild turkeys survive in the world of predators, while the domesticated turkey has lost that instinct and ability to survive in the wild and are easy prey for those predators. Wild turkeys rely on their dark brown and plumage, black plumage to camouflage. Can you look at these 2 pictures and see the turkeys? Look closely.
I can see, but I know there's something there. If I didn't know, I wouldn't.
Yeah. So this first picture here,
Yeah.
there's 2 there. There's even a 3rd one. Let's see, there's even a 3rd one right here.
Yeah.
So these turkeys just blend in. Well, you wouldn't think so, looking at the white in their feathers and the barred in their feathers. They would stand out. They stood out in the field. And this one, you kind of see poking his head right out. But that dark color, if it wasn't for the red head, you wouldn't have seen it. And you know, it would be just dark enough in the shadows of the trees and the grass and the surrounding habitat. Yep. Trying to get this away. Let's see here. Feathers and skin, although domesticated turkeys can be bred to closely resemble wild turkeys, domesticated varieties are normally bred white to avoid the darker skin coloration associated with the non-white feathers. So down here, you'll see the 2 different ones, the wild turkey and the other ones here. Let's see. Let's see what the Paula Dean. We have someone. Okay, Jane, I see your question here about instructions on the bone call. I can probably give them to you if you like that. That'd be great. Let's see what Paula Dean's doing as she's cooking. I'm sure there's going to be lots of butter involved because she is known for that. There we go. I'm going to travel. It's as loud as I can get that. Yeah, it's as loud as I can get that. Sorry. There's the picture of the wild turkey, and that's a domesticated turkey. And so I should have asked you this question back when I was going over the pounds turkey. How many? What's your turkey that looked like this Thanksgiving? How many pounds did you get? 12-pound turkey. Yep. Probably 20.
It's our son. Daughter-in-law, we've been doing it for a while.
That's great. So yeah, I think they say if you're going to have guests, you probably want 1 pound per person, I guess. 1 pound of turkey per guest, as they say. But I like leftovers, so
Yeah.
we have to have those leftovers. So turkey on the table. Here's a little history about the domesticated turkeys. Domesticated turkeys were first raised by native people in Mexico and Central America, who bred them into domestication as early as 25 AD. Long time ago, a long time ago. Spanish explorers took domesticated turkeys back to Europe after the exploration of this new world in 1519, and they were popular in the European farmers and were popular fare among the elite. Only the more expensive lords and stuff of the countryside could obtain that because they had herds of animals and crops and farming. They returned to the New World with English colonists in the 1600s, and those colonists were surprised when they learned that turkeys were part of the American landscape already, all along. Wild turkey numbers dwindled through the early 20th century. There were only 30,000 turkeys left in the 1930s due to overhunting and habitat loss. And one way to reintroduce this bird was to release farm-raised turkeys. The story that Jeanette just told us that happened just recently, I guess, within 5 to 10 years, where a farmer had raised them and released them in the Pennypack Trust. They released them in the wild, but those birds didn't really survive very well with the predators that were out there. In the 1940s, people began catching wild turkeys and transporting them to other areas. By transporting them, it allowed them to spread all over the lower 48 states, plus Hawaii, all parts of southern Canada. So Hawaii has its own problems with native and exotic species entering their islands, and to introduce something like a turkey. I know Australia has introduced them too. So today, the birds are popular among the hunters, of course, and that's one way that they had traveled with hunting and gaming, a turkey shoot, as they call it, famous. Other species of animals were introduced, like the nutria, which is this rodent, big rodent, looks like a beaver, but a skinny tail. That was reintroduced over here from Russia into the hunting clubs because they wanted to hunt it for sport. The U.S. Fish and Game Wildlife Service estimates, now this number was several years ago, 21% of all American hunters had purchased the turkey hunting tab, making it the second most sought game after the deer. So they really do have those two big seasons. They have, you can either buy a deer hunting license or the turkey hunting license. And 2 seasons for the turkey is fall and spring. Is fall and spring when you can only hunt, and you can only shoot the male turkeys. There is a fine if you accidentally shoot the females. Sarah Josepha Hale, I believe that's how you pronounce her name, Josepha Hale, is known as the godmother of Thanksgiving, explained that early New England celebrations included the roasted turkey, which eventually became the model for the festivities adopted by the rest of the country after Abraham Lincoln declared this to be a national holiday in 1863. Others believe that the role of Thanksgiving feast is due to the fact that these larger birds would feed a lot of people, which they often did. That's why they were hunted. And some still believe that it's because of the turkey's position as the American of feathered creatures. Benjamin Franklin thought it as much more respectable bird than the bald eagle to be our mascot or to be our bird instead of the bald eagle, making it fitting entree for one of the most American of holidays. Now, I know that bald eagle and some of its characteristics, when I was out west with some of the tribes out there, they never thought the bald eagle was a respectable bird or an iconic bird because it was very individual and non-social. The golden eagle, of course, is more social in characteristic and behavior. So they like that attribute of being a part of the community, a part of the tribe. It takes a village to raise children. But a bald eagle being solitary and on its own and too proud was a negative attribute in the animal's behavior. How ironic that we take that today and we make it our post office and it's widely celebrated as a majestic and perfect bird, right? Not so, not so. Very pretty, but then again, someone as intelligent as Ben Franklin and the turkey is overlooked often. Now here's some did you know facts. The English name of the bird may have derived from the early shipping routes that passed through the country of Turkey on their way to delivering the birds to European markets, giving us the name turkey. Whereas the native tribes would definitely have a different name, cultivating forever the birds and the bird species. The tom and hen scat is different from one another, but no one knows why. So the tom gobbler over here has a straighter defecation than the hen, which has a curl to it. The royal palm turkey is a domesticated kind of turkey, first bred in Florida in the 1920s. Most heritage turkey breeds in captivity are in decline, so this is protected and considered an endangered kind of species. It's been reported endangered in both Australia and United States, lives to 2 to 3 years. And you can see this bird in the Philadelphia Zoo because they have them in the Philadelphia Zoo. The first birds, this is just reinstates the color of it and the other domesticated birds. Let me show you those farm raised. Let's see. Yep, you can still see them in the zoo. There are 11 other breeds besides this one. So here are the 12 breeds of the domesticated turkey. All right, the Beltsville, which is the small white, the Black Europe, the Bourbon Red, the Standard Bronze, the Chocolate, the Jersey Buff, the Lavender and Lilac, the Midget White, the Narragansett, the Royal Palm, the Slate, and the White Holland.
I like the chocolate. I don't have to buy it.
Well, I'd like to thank you for this time that we shared together. I will end this shortly. I thought this was a very funny picture of the chef. Don't get overwhelmed during Thanksgiving if you eat too much turkey. And remember, there is the Macy's Day Parade, and on NBC has a turkey as their iconic symbol for them. Now, here's also another thing of culinary arts to remember how to carve a turkey. If you are honored by the host of the party to cut or carve the turkey, they say the best practices are to cut off the legs first, followed by the wings, and then with the breast, making nice thin cuts like that, downward, really taking it apart. I thought that was interesting to see that because I have to remind myself as well. All right. As I stop to share, hello, Jing. Everyone, I wanted to bring up that picture of the domesticated varieties. And by zooming in here, we can see what the small white Beltsville looks like, and it is pretty small. All right. You have the black, the bourbon red here. There's the bourbon red, only white tipped on the tail feather and on the wing. We have the standard bronze, right? And the chocolate variety, the Jersey buff, and the lavender. Here's the midget, and the Narragansett, the Royal Palm, and the slate. I'm sorry, on the Zoom, I did not share that. Let me share my screen with you guys one last time so you guys can see this too. I forgot to do that. Here we go. Come on. Here we are. Jane, there you go. Now you can see, here's the slate, which I think is the prettiest. Some of you people that came in through the front door, you saw on the screen a pre-recorded video of somewhere in the United States, I think it's Oregon, that had turkeys. I think they're domesticated because there's a slate. There's one white and black one in there. Here's the Royal Palm again. We'll go back through these. The Narragansett, the midget white, the lavender, I think is probably called that because the feathers that are in the neck there are shown more darker and that purple color, iridescent color than the others. The Jersey buffs. Here's your chocolate turkeys, your standard bronze, bourbon red, and black, and Beltsville. Well, wherever you guys decide to spend your holiday, I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Thank you for sharing your time here. And